Hello, 7th graders. Today we're going to talk about understanding direct proportions in tables. So the first example says to write an equation for the cost of strawberries in terms of the weight. Well, cost of strawberries is our y in terms of the weight, which is x. So we know it's going to be y equals, and we can see that we're multiplying by 2 each time, multiplying x by 2 each time to get our y. So we have y equals 2 times x. We can see that because 1 times 2 equals 2, 2 times 2 equals 4, and 3 times 2 equals 6. It proves to be true. So looking at the next part, make sure you write this in your notes. If y over x equals k, or y equals k times x, where k is a constant value, then y is said to be directly proportional to x. The constant value k in a direct proportion is called the constant of proportionality. The constant proportionality, or k, is the coefficient of x. So in this case, it would be that 2. For y to be directly proportional to x, the ratio of y over x must be the same for all of the ordered pairs. So be sure that you always check all of the pairs or all of the values in a table. So using our table as an example, when we put y over x, we first have 2 over 1, 4 over 2, and then 6 over 3, looking back to these values. So when we look at all of the ratios, 2 over 1 is 2, 4 over 2 is 2, and 6 over 3 is 2, we get our constant of proportionality, which is 2, or also known as our k. So our second example, same thing. It says the table shows the distance traveled by a school bus, y miles, after x hours. Tell whether quantities are in direct proportion from a table. So we always put our y over our x. And so in this case, we have 100 miles to 2 hours. And that equals 50. 100, the ratio of 100 to 2 is 50. Our next ratio, and our next one has 50 miles to 50 hours. Well, that still equals 50, or 50 miles per hour. And then our last one, we have 200 miles to 4 hours. Once again, that still equals 50 miles to 1 hour. So we can see when we multiply each of our x's by 50, we're going to get our y. We can describe this as saying the distance traveled by the school bus is directly proportional to the number of hours it has traveled. The constant of proportionality is 50 and represents the speed of the bus. The direct proportion equation is y equals 50x, 50 being our k. Pause the video, try this next example on your own, and then come back and see how you did. All right, this example says the table shows the price, $P, for X cans of soup. Does the table show direct proportionality? If so, identify the constant proportionality and explain what it represents in the situation. Then write the direct proportion equation. So our variables in this case are X and P. Well, our P is like our Y, it's our output. So we're going to put P over X in this case. We have $1.60 per 1 can. We have $3.20 per 2 cans, and we have $4.80 for 3 cans. Well, when we find the ratio of each of those, we get $1.60 per can. And so we can describe this as the price being directly proportional to the number of cans purchased. The constant of proportionality is 1.6 and represents the price per can. It is a unit rate. A A unit rate is when the denominator is 1. And finally, the direct variation equation is P equals 1.6x, 1.6 being our K. Last example, try it on your own and then come back and see how you did. It says the table shows the number of baseballs Y made in X days. The number of baseballs made is directly proportional to the number of days of production. Find the constant of proportionality and tell what it represents in this situation, then write a direct proportion equation. So we have our Y over our X, and in this case, 56 baseballs every day for 1 day. We then have 112 baseballs in 2 days, and we have 168 baseballs in 3 days. So we know that 56 over 1, well, it's already in its unit rate, so we'll leave it as 56 over 1, or 56 baseballs for 1 day. 112 over 2, well, we can get that to the unit rate by getting our denominator to 1. And if we do that, we have to divide our numerator by 2 as well. So we get 56 baseballs, once again in 1 day. And then lastly, 168 over 3, well, to get 3 to a unit rate, or to get it to 1, we divide it by 3, and that means we have to divide our numerator by 3 as well. And once again, we get 56 baseballs per day. So the constant of proportionality is 56. So once again, the constant of proportionality is 56 and represents the number of baseballs produced per day.